Hello and welcome back to the Gloves Off, Helmets On podcast. We have the China race rankings today. Obviously, we had a sprint weekend, so that adds to the mix.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to talk about, actually.
There is. Obviously, we've got the Red Bull drama because we are recording this on Thursday, which is a bit late, a few days after the race, but...
We found out literally a couple hours ago,
Yeah.
so this is fresh.
So we thought we'll throw this in. We'll cover this bit first and give our 100% factual opinions.
Yeah.
Justice, I suppose, for Tsunoda. He should be
Yeah.
in the Red Bull, but he should have been in it before the season started. So I think Red Bull have just embarrassed themselves.
And if you haven't heard the news, basically, Lawson obviously hasn't had a very good first two races, which is very unfortunate because they've obviously brought him onto the team thinking that he's really going to do something well. And he performed well in the RB towards the end of last season. He wasn't a bad driver.
Yeah.
And they obviously seen something in him to put him in that second seat at Red Bull. But obviously, he's said openly in interviews himself, he needs more time and he just hasn't got it. So, literally as of today, I think it started speculating at the start of the week, but today it's been officially announced that he has now lost his seat at Red Bull and Tsunoda is officially a Red Bull driver.
Exactly, yeah. I'm of the opinion, personally, they should have given him a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 6 races, and not 2.
Because they've ruined his career, basically.
They've definitely put a big hole in his career now, really, because his confidence is going to be on the floor. There's no doubt. Obviously, his performances were that bad. It's almost like, say he does really well the rest of the season, and will them 2 performances at the start stop him from being promoted again? You don't know. Probably, but I think it will. Sadly, this could be the end of Tsunoda.
Yeah.
Because inevitably the same thing is probably going to happen. I guess Tsunoda's probably your best chance of actually getting on top of that second Red Bull, but I don't know. I'm not optimistic.
One thing I will say, though, is Lawson's extremely lucky in the fact that he's got RB as a lifeline, whereas if it comes to the point where Tsunoda isn't necessarily performing and they're looking at to replace him, I don't think he'll have that RB to fall back in.
No.
So I think he's capable of doing it. I think Christian Horner's even said in an interview, he said Tsunoda at the moment is the experience that they need because the car is obviously extremely challenging.
But what's made him... Why didn't you think that at the start of the season?
Because he didn't want Tsunoda, did he?
I think he's a second option.
They've panicked, yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate for Tsunoda, really, because if it does go down that route of it not working out, then it's Tsunoda's career tarnished because everyone's pretty comfortable at the moment.
Yeah.
So we don't know what could happen to him. But fingers crossed. I really hope... I mean, if I got the offer, I'd have declined it simply for my own pride.
Honestly,
I'd have been like, you didn't want me, so why should I now? But it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I suppose.
He might go and he might be rubbish, and then he's missed out on Tsunoda's missed out going elsewhere later in his career, which he probably could have done.
Yeah.
Like we was talking about, obviously, Cadillac coming in next year, he would have been a perfect fit. But he's obviously decided to go up. I personally think, with where the Racing Bull is as well, it seems to be like not far off their actual Red Bull. So
the race, he would have probably had a better season at that in the RB.
Yeah, honestly, I reckon he could have been on for a potential podium this season.
Definitely.
If he'd have stayed at Racing Bull. So I don't know. I think this is the best the Racing Bull has ever been, really. So yeah, he probably should have stayed.
Like they cooked this weekend, which we will get to.
Yeah,
but it's looking seriously good.
So they cooked, and then the strategy didn't cook. But the car's fast.
But them themselves.
The driver was pretty good, but the strategies weren't so good. But anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much more else to say. It's embarrassing for Red Bull. I wouldn't say it's really embarrassing for Lawson. It is embarrassing, I suppose.
I feel more sorry for him than anything else because the amount of stick that he's gotten already and that he's going to get is obviously really unfortunate. That is social media for you.
A shame for the team to have made the mistake of not promoting Tsunoda, because obviously now we have Tsunoda in, and Lawson's just been like used in a way, and they've basically I feel like they've embarrassed him and it was so unnecessary, could have easily been avoided. That's how I personally feel.
Even if they just give him an extra year in the RB, it's something, but someone's gonna get disappointed in this whole scenario, and the Red Bull curse lives on.
And will it continue? We're obviously going to find out in about a week and a half.
Perez will be sat at home literally
You will.
giggling at the world falling apart.
I know.
So we should. But yeah, so quite an eventful weekend on week. A few milestones hit. What was it for McLaren? So they had another 1-2. Is it like the 50th?
50th 1-2, pretty sure, yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had a really interesting
Mercedes
weekend.
300th podium.
Albon has got more points this season so far
than he did last. Which is, let's just get to that when we get there. We're going to get the race rankings, right.
Another thing this weekend, there was actually 2 Ferraris on pole. And you may be thinking, who's the other Ferrari? It's a woman in F1 Academy. She got the Ferrari pole in the race. Didn't convert it to win though, she got P2. But
that's not bad.
She still got a pole, so she's sharing that top spot with Hamilton with his sprint pole.
Ah, good.
So that is a nice little move from the ladies. And I also seen Dorian Pin as well on the weekend, in the garage with Mercedes, being labelled as a junior driver again.
Wow.
It's going good. It's nice. It's nice to see women represented.
F1 Academy have pumped some money into it this year.
Yeah, definitely. It was the first race in Shanghai, and then I can't think how many. I think it's 8 races this year, 8 to 10. Yeah. So kicked off the season for those as well.
Okay. Are we ready for the race rankings?
We are now ready for the race rankings.
Right. Let's stop the waffle and get to the stuff that everyone's here to see. So, we're going to start off with the Racing Bulls as it goes.
Ex-Racing Bulls now.
Well, one of them is. Start off with Hadjar.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong qualifying from him. Obviously,
Yeah.
qualified a bit of a silent sprint. Well, whatever, it's more about the race than the sprint. But yeah, P7 in qualifying, out qualifying Tsunoda, and then obviously he weren't on for points. I'm pretty sure he was on for a P9 maybe. Yeah, it has been a few days, so I think he was on for a 9th, and then Racing Bulls decided to pit them both, and then they couldn't come back from that. I don't know why they did the 2 stops.
I think it's because there was talk of rain, wasn't there, towards the end of the race. So then I think they panicked a bit and was like, well, if we do it now, we might get ahead. So I think it just got a bit mixed up.
Racing Bulls
the
are
rain
probably
never came.
Yeah, Racing Bulls might actually be the worst. Bar Ferrari maybe the worst on strategy. So a 2.5 for Isaac Hadjar, down the middle. 2.5.
So I've given him 3 stars because he actually did quite well in the sprint. P13 I think he got.
Okay.
P11 in the race, obviously. Qualifying was absolutely amazing this weekend, and the reason why I've sort of bumped it up to a 3 is because this was technically his first race.
Okay, yeah.
Because he didn't do his one, and I think his performance actually today, finishing the race, I think he was pretty strong.
Yeah. All right.
So I'll put him a 3, especially in that car too. I think those are good results.
Yeah, and his qualifying really bumped him up for me. Yuki Tsunoda, 3.5 for me, 1 more than Hadjar. I think he actually was having a blinding race. I'm fairly certain he was on for a 6th or a 7th, one or the other, and then obviously decided, actually, let's pull him into the pits and shove him behind all the traffic, and then he's obviously not going to be able to get through. And then obviously he had that unexpected wing damage, which is so unfortunate.
I didn't even see that either.
Just driving, just happened.
Blinked and it happened.
But yeah, 3.5, so extremely solid race from Tsunoda. That's.
Yeah,
I was tempted to do a 4, but I didn't, purely on the team messing him up. I've got to take that into account just a little bit, I think.
So I've also given him a 3 with his teammate.
Okay.
Because his sprint performance, he got P6, which is absolutely amazing. Again, qualifying, they were so good at qualifying.
Yeah, both in Q3.
Yeah, Racing Bulls are going to have a really good season, I think. But obviously, unfortunately, the race kind of fell apart, so I would have given him higher, but I think 3 stars is really good for his performance this weekend.
Was it 6th in the sprint? It was, wasn't it? 3 points,
yeah.
That's incredible. So, yeah, I mean...
He's come back with something to prove, let me tell you.
Yeah, and obviously, he's got what he wants now, I suppose.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, he was on the form of his life at that team, so he should have stayed, but, we'll see how it unfolds. Okay, so good weekend from Racing Bulls.
Yeah, definitely really
overall.
good weekend.
Only 3 points scored, but it was looking promising for the future. Okay, moving on to Haas. Talking of good weekends, Haas probably had the best weekend.
No, it was really, really good.
So, Ollie Behrman.
He was practically giggling and kicking his feet in that car when he was overtaking everyone.
Qualified near the back. And I was thinking, it's another Ollie Behrman race, like the first one where it was just rough. It was a tough watch. But wow, did he come through the back?
He didn't, he just.
He made up for his bad qualifying, and he's finished in 8th.
Mhm.
4 solid points. Obviously, with the disqualifications, he actually finished 10th on the road, but then been bumped up to 8th. So 4 stars for me.
I've also matched that and given him 4 stars. Watching him overtake one, I can't think who he did first. We did signs. He did absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
But him with his little chows.
He did a few chows.
He must have been giggling in that car to himself, but I think he had a really, really solid performance in that race. And you could tell that he was confident from him getting a bit giddy over the radio.
Yeah.
But yeah, really solid performance all weekend. Obviously the sprint, a bit shaky at P15.
Yeah.
Qualifying, like you said, wasn't the best, but he brought it back in the race, and so did his teammate.
He did. Okay, you want to move on to Ocon now. This is probably Ocon's race of the season. This is probably the peak.
Well, you
in
never
race
know.
2. Well, I'm pretty confident. Anyway, Esteban Ocon, P5, 10 big, fat, juicy points for Haas.
In the Haas.
Yeah.
Haas.
Haas have come away with 14 points this weekend. That is
Crazy.
incredible. That is literally a big chunk of the points they got last year, and they've done it in one race. I was so tempted to give Ocon a 5-star, but I've just dropped into a 4.5. Maybe I'm being harsh, I don't know, but a 4.5 for me. Incredible race. I would absolutely be alright with a 5-star, but I've just been harsh.
I feel a bit nasty. I've given him 4. I feel like I should probably bump that up a little bit. I don't know. I kind of levelled him out with Berman because I don't remember hearing anything about him. But I mean, obviously, he did have a really good race. P5, you don't do that often, especially with the first race coming back. I thought the Haas was in the bin.
Yeah,
I was not
bad.
expecting anything. I think even going into this weekend, we were talking about it, and I was saying I don't think it's going well for Haas, and then they both proven me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, really solid performance all weekend. Obviously finishing P5.
4-star, you
amazing. Okay, well, I'll give him a 4.5.
No, don't let me inflate you.
But it is pretty harsh when you talk about him.
P5.5. I mean, that doesn't happen.
You can have the extra 0.5.
Yeah. Now, going from one high to a low is the Saubers.
The bogey car.
Do you know what? I'm so excited, and I'm backing Bortoletto 100%, but he's not helping me.
No, he's not.
Oh, come on. I know he's got it in him. I know he does.
When I seen him do that little spin, it's like you can't look at it.
No, it's
you don't
hard.
want to accept the fact that he's having a bit of a rough time.
He's shown he's got potential, but another scrappy race. And I can't 1.5. I can't go any higher.
At one point in the race, and it was showing the distance between him and it was Piastri leading. It was like 53 seconds at one point.
Yeah, he did have to pit lap 1, so
yeah,
he had a rough little
he wasn't
spin.
having fun.
But yeah, 1.5 for me.
I've also given 1.5. I think he was doing okay, but obviously, I mean, he finished 14th in the race at the end because obviously the disqualifications, but he obviously didn't do too well. He brought it back though, to say that he was so far behind. I was watching him like basically gain a second or a couple of seconds every time, and he pretty much caught up.
See, that's
I mean, he literally overtook Hulkenberg at one point from being that far back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hulkenberg had an issue as well though. Speaking of Hulkenberg, I've given him a little bit higher. I've given him a 2. Still, awful race for Hulkenberg. Awful race for Sauber, really. After such a high, finishing 7th last weekend, he's gone at a stinker. So a 2 out of 5 for Hulkenberg.
So I've actually given him less because I thought he performed worse than Bortoletto this weekend. Because obviously he finished behind him in the race, finished behind him in the sprint. Qualifying did better at, but overall race performance and race pace just wasn't there this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think he had it as down as Bortoletto, which I mean you can literally see in the results. To say that Bortoletto had accidents and Hulkenberg was still behind him, something's gone wrong there. I don't necessarily think I just don't think it was his weekend really. You sort of expect more from Hulkenberg because of the experience and the driver that he is.
Yeah.
So I think this weekend 1 star is what he's got.
Oh, wow.
Which I feel nasty for doing because it's Hulkenberg, but sorry.
Yeah.
I do like you though.
Okay, Alpine. Another really
What is Jack
awful race from, really. I forgot to speak then, sorry. Go on.
I'm really sorry, doing, and I'm really trying to keep that pity up and be like, I really don't want Colin Pinto to come and bite you in the arse at some point in the next few weeks. You're not helping it.
It's going to happen.
Please, just do something. Perform well. Beat Gasly, anything. Save yourself.
Give us a point.
Just
anything.
save yourself. You're not helping. We
Get
all feel sorry for you. We're not doing anything. You're in an F1 car, put your foot down. What's he doing?
Well, I don't know what's happening. Because Gasly's shown that Alpine is around the bottom half, at the bottom end of the points, you know.
He's still go-karting in his brain.
Yeah.
He's like fucking monkey banging in his brain.
He is. Okay.
Saw it.
What's he got for you?
1.
Oh, I've given her a 1.5. I've got a little bit nicer.
Okay, you're being nice.
But I think I am being nice.
20th in the sprint, qualified 18th.
10 second in the sprint, 10 second penalty in the sprint, 10 second penalty in the race.
It's just messy.
He's got, is it 3 or 4 super license points? I'm fairly certain.
He's done 2 races.
Penalty points. Yeah, I know.
Just help yourself.
He's got more points on his super license than he has in the actual championship.
Alpine already are very sceptical. I don't even, what's he called? I can't think of his name.
Colapinto?
No. The mean old guy.
Yeah, what's he called? Flavio Briatore.
Yeah, him. He already doesn't like anyone at Alpine, for God's sake. He doesn't like Gasly.
Yeah,
so he's definitely not going to like doing. So please, the pair of you, snap out of it.
Yeah, and they're going for like the short term success, and it seems like
it's clearly not
working.
working.
So do they pull the plug and just say, you know what, 2026? Because they're the only team to have not scored points this season. I know we're only 2 races
And it's
in,
Alpine.
but I know Alpine, like,
Gasly's usually like,
yeah,
you know, doing some things for him, but it seems like even he's struggling.
No, well, he's had 2 P11s, so that is just unfortunate. Obviously, he got disqualified, so technically he didn't finish 11th, but you know. Even that, they've judged the car wrong, and I can't remember, probably underweight, wasn't it? Like
it was underweight.
Like, it's just errors like that costing you. I need to get. We need to go into a team that's had a better weekend, because this is hurting my heart. I love F1 and I want to see everyone do well. So let's move on.
Do you want to let's go to a lighter note. Stroll this weekend.
I want to hear.
Can we all take a minute silence?
I want to hear you say something nice.
Stroll. Well done.
Unbelievable, mate. He's on fire.
And I was watching him defend his spot, and I was thinking, oh, come on, someone's going to say I'll take him. He didn't.
No, he's on it.
He was all right. And I can't remember who pitted at one point. He won't let him past.
No.
He was like, no, I'm staying. And he did actually really well. He ended up finishing 9th, which obviously is amazing, but it's Stroll.
Yeah.
Sprint race, 9 as well, and then qualified 14th.
Yep.
So I think he had a really consistent weekend. I think he had a really pretty
solid
good solid race.
That's all you can ask for.
There wasn't any mistakes, any stupid just Stroll moments, you can say. I think, and also with Alonso not finishing in the race, I think he pretty much carried.
No.
I thought I did really well, you know. I think he surprised us all, actually.
Yeah, Aston Martin on 10 points and they're all from Stroll. Who would
Yeah.
have thought?
That speaks volumes.
It does.
Maybe he actually has finally listened this year and thought, you know what, I'm
But
going to prove myself.
It's Lance Stroll. It'll come. It'll go back to normal.
Let's hope. Come on,
Well,
we've got to cut him
what have
some
you given
slack. I've given him 3 stars.
3 stars.
I felt like bumping off a bit more, but I thought then it was also a Stroll, so I can't get too giddy. But he's got 3. He's earned them. I think he's done really well.
Well, I've given him 4.
Okay.
And I think maybe I've been too generous. I think, you know, obviously he had a great race in Australia, and I rated him high then, and maybe I've got a little bit excited, you know, but I'm going to stand on it. Solid race, like you said. I can't really add to what you said. It's there's not much happened. He just drove a very solid race, and pretty much on his own, and he just did what he needed to do. So fair play to him.
And then we're moving on to a very heartbreaking announcement.
Oh. Alonso.
This did actually hurt to give him such a low score.
To give Stroll a higher grade than Alonso twice
It's
in
crazy,
a row,
yeah.
It's hurting me. I can't keep doing it.
I will also say though, it's making me sad because, you know, you can also sort of see that Alonso is getting old because he's had a neck injury this week. Something to do with one of the nerves in his neck. And for that race, he actually had a neck brace on. And then they were going to ask him how he performed, and then he ended up coming out to the press and saying, like, I obviously didn't do enough laps to tell them how my neck was. So I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully he is better
Yeah, that's
for
all
the
rage.
next race in Japan. But he's getting old.
So I've
You can see
given
it.
Alonso a 3 star. Now you might be thinking that's a bit high. Yes, but he was running ahead of Stroll. Most likely would have stayed ahead of Stroll.
Yeah, he was on
also
for a good race.
Qualified ahead of Stroll. By no fault of his own, the car's broke down. I can't see a Stroll passing Alonso later in the race. I'm fairly certain Alonso would have stayed ahead of him and inevitably finished 8th. But that didn't happen, so, you know, I'd be stupid to give Alonso a higher grade than Stroll. So I'll give him a 3.
I do agree. I think he was on for a good race, but he didn't perform as well as Stroll in the sprint. He was 1 position behind him, and then also he didn't finish. So I've given him 2 stars. So he's 1 underneath Stroll, which sounds a bit mean, but it wasn't his weekend, was it? No. Unfortunately.
Okay. Red Bull. This is an awkward one.
Yeah, this is rough.
I feel like I've
I feel like I'm contributing to the online bullying.
yeah, I feel like I am now.
About ranking.
Liam Lawson.
Should we give him 5 stars? I'll pay an honourable 5 stars.
Yeah. The inevitable.
Qualifying was really good.
Yeah, like, obviously.
Don't it?
I think he got the grid mixed up. He thought he had
Yeah,
to put that
maybe
back.
he's a bit confused.
So he's got a 0.5 from me, the lowest grade you could possibly get.
Yeah. Did he start in the pit lane again?
Yeah,
Was
he
it for
qualified
the
last
sprint
and
or
then
for the actual race?
for the actual race, I'm fairly certain.
Mm.
Yeah, 0.5. That's unacceptable, and clearly a Red Bull deemed that as well.
Yeah.
What have you given?
0.5.
Oh,
I know, I feel absolutely terrible. To be fair, I mean, he finished alright. He ended up finishing 12th.
I don't know, well.
Sprint 14th.
See,
Yeah.
that's masking it. He technically, like, I know he finished 12th, but realistically, he finished behind 3 cars that got disqualified. That's 15th. The Salvas who both crashed into, crashed in their own little bits. That would have been 17th, and then you've got a DNF with Alonso, and I'm pretty sure there was another one.
Mm.
And then, Alonso DNF, and then Sonoda's
I'm
damage.
just trying to make you
Technically, he
feel
would have
better.
finished last.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to make you feel better.
Okay, well, he's got the new little RB Racing Bulls, sorry.
Yeah.
He's got a new start, hopefully.
Another thing is, he was mentioning his tyres quite a lot over the weekend, and he even came on the radio on the sprint and was like, can't get the tyres down. I think it is just genuinely like, he just didn't know what he was doing in that car.
No.
He just couldn't make it work. You can see that he was trying. They've obviously put him in the pit to change a few things, and nothing was working.
It's going to take some talent to get that car under control. So.
They need to work damn
Come on,
hard.
Yuki. Be the man to do it. So, yeah, 0.5 from Lawson. Max Verstappen, I would say, a
Decent.
solid race. Beat both of the Ferraris. Obviously had a good sprint, finished third in the sprint. All he could do, really.
Yeah.
That's where the car was at. 3.5.
I've given him 3 stars.
Okay.
Which, I mean, kind of sounds a bit harsh now because he did actually have a really good weekend. Basically just stayed in 3rd and 4th all weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously qualified 4th, finished 4th in the race and then 3rd in the sprint, which
Yeah.
is weird to even say that Verstappen's like...
Not winning.
yeah, or even on podium,
I know.
on pole, whatever. But yeah, I think he had a pretty solid weekend, but obviously 3 stars, I think there's been better.
He's
not
made
his
the
best,
most
not
of
his
a bad
worst.
situation,
Yeah.
really. And I think that's where the car's going to be until the upgrades come in.
Yeah, I think that his second race solidified it now that, like,
because that first
Verstappen's
race,
amazing, but the car's not good.
his second in the first race, I reckon, was purely down to the weather conditions. Cause
Yeah,
he's
definitely, because he's a good driver.
But I think that car is, well, you don't really know how to rank it because you don't really know where Mercedes and Ferrari are at. It's hard to tell this early on, but we know who the fastest team is, and we're going to get onto them. Don't you worry. So you've gone 3 star for Verstappen.
Yeah.
Okay. Mercedes, solid weekend.
Really good weekend for Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely, especially one of them. But we're going to get onto them in a minute. Kimi Antonelli. Obviously, we found out after the race he was dealing with floor damage.
Yeah.
And they just decided not to tell him, which I think that's a good idea actually, because someone that knew
Probably panicked
he's
a little
overthinking
bit.
it. Yeah. So solid race from Antonelli, not as quite as good as Australia. But yeah, I've given him 3 star, solid P6 for him.
Yeah, so I've also agreed. I've given him 3 stars as well. I think qualifying really well. I think he's pretty close match to Russell. I do think they're a really good team.
Yeah.
Sprint 7th, and I think this early on in his career, I think he is a pretty skillful little driver, and he seems to have like a really promising future. And this weekend, I think you could see that, because obviously he proved himself in the wet race last weekend that he actually finished, and had a really good race. And then he's had another one today in Shanghai, which he tried, very different.
Yep.
It's like his first sort of proper
Actual
normal
yeah,
F1 race, and he's more or less kept up that pace and that performance. So I think he does deserve the 3 stars.
Yeah. George Russell, great podium, back-to-back podiums
So
for him.
good. He's on for a really good season, I think. And Toto Wolff even backs him now and is like, because obviously there's been a bit of speculation about Mercedes bringing in Verstappen, which has carried on from last year. Really, it seems to be like a common theme.
But it seems like they're sticking with Russell.
Yeah, Toto Wolff said like he's the guy.
Yeah.
See a lot of potential in him, so which is quite nice to hear as well.
Yeah, because we see it, so we've just been waiting for everyone else to start seeing it. George Russell obviously performed the best of, got the best out of what he could. There was no way he was going to finish first or second, and he very nearly did. But then McLaren's, it's a different ballgame.
Too quick.
But if Russell can keep doing this, if he can keep pumping in these P3s, P4s kind of area, obviously P3s are more ideal. If Mercedes can bring in a little upgrade and he's consistently getting the thirds until then, he's still in the title fight that way. And especially if McLaren are tripping up, taking points off each other, one's winning, and the next one's winning, and then the next one's winning, and it's just they're taking points. Russell could get into this title fight, and dare I say it, he could win it.
All it takes is a couple little mistakes from McLaren or whoever's leading, really, but it most probably will be McLaren.
Yeah.
I think those little mistakes are going to be so big for Russell to then sort of come in and take over, which I think is very much got the potential to do this season, because it's all up in the air. Like, anything could literally happen. But he had a really, really good weekend, really race, so solid. You could see nothing bothering him, pretty much held his spot all weekend mistakes throughout every single race and qualifying. So he qualified second, finished third in the race, and then fourth in the sprint, so I think solidifies that he's had a very, very solid performance. So I've given 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars?
I was also thinking about a 5, but I thought if you'd have just turned that into a second place, or done something a little bit more, I'd have given it a whole 5. But I think it's an amazing time.
I've given him a 5 star. I don't think he could have finished higher. The fact he would finish like 1.5 behind Norris, which I know Norris had brake issues, whatever. I personally think he could not have done better, and he's driven a perfect weekend. So 5 star for me, George Russell. Well done, mate. I love you a lot. Williams.
Yeah.
Another solid race for Sir Alex Albon.
I know, he's really been like, I can do it, guys.
He's put Williams on his back and he said, I'm going to show what I'm capable of. So, back-to-back points. Obviously, like we said, he's scored more points this season in 2 races than he did the entirety of last.
Which is amazing.
Unbelievable.
They're a small team in the middle.
Yeah. A double points score for Williams as well. Alex Albon, 4-star race. Unbelievable, mate.
So I actually wrote down 3.5, but now I'm thinking about it. Now I've had a couple of days to sit on the race. I'm going to change it to a 4, simply because obviously with the disqualification, he's obviously bumped up. But I do think without that, even so, he's had a really good weekend. I think he was
running 9th, was it? And then obviously the Ferraris have bumped him up to 7th.
Obviously out performed Sainz this weekend, which is unfortunate. I don't think Sainz had a very good time.
He's struggling, really. Yeah. More than I thought he would. I mean, he's scored a point, hasn't he? So
yeah.
But it's a lucky point, He finished 13th on the road, and then he's been promoted up to 10th.
So we'll move on to Sainz. I've given him 1.5.
Ooh, that is horrible.
He
scored a point.
He did, but he was also very lucky about the
very lucky point.
Yeah, so I don't think he necessarily drove to
get a point.
To get it.
Okay.
Which is what I've factored in.
Yeah, I've given him a 2.5. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously not a great it's down the middle score, 2.5. Similar to what you said, don't really deserve the point, truth be told, and I love Sainz, and I hate to say that, but yeah, that's what
thinking about the sprint as well, for Albon to finish 11th and him 17th, I think he's struggling a little bit to pick it up, which will literally happen in the next few races. It just takes time to get used to a whole new team and whole new environment, as well as a new car.
And I do think eventually Sainz will start outperforming Albon. It's just a matter of time. Whether it takes this whole season and then 26 he comes out, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, so now moving on to our last ranking.
Oh, we've got 2 more.
Yeah, the McLaren.
And
last
Ferrari.
team. Oh yeah, I forgot about those guys.
The biggest team in a sport. Alright, McLaren. Let's hear your opinion.
One.
Yeah.
So Piastri has earned my one and only 5 stars from this weekend.
Ooh.
So good all weekend. So he finished second in the sprint and then on pole, and then turned that into a win. I think he had a really good race. Held it. I just think he had a really good performance this weekend. I think he sort of redeemed himself from Australia and finally was like, I'm doing this. And did it. I thought he had a really good time.
For sure.
And obviously Norris didn't.
His first ever pole. And he's converted, unlike a certain Lando Norris normally does.
I think his experience and his skill is just happening progressing so quickly, obviously so early on in his career. He's onto some damn good things.
Which is what you want to do when you're in the fastest car.
Definitely. That car is ridiculous.
It is. It's going to take some beating. I've given him a 4.5, maybe a tad harsh. The only reason is he didn't win the sprint, so I feel like I can't give him a 5. But I should probably.
Bro was second.
I know. I feel like I've been a bit harsh there, but 4.5 still a high score. Yeah, great performance. I'm happy he got his first pole and converted pretty convincingly. I mean, had that brake issue on Norris not happened, he probably would have won by like 2.5 seconds, which is close, but he still won, so you can't argue with it. Okay, land on Norris.
Moving on to Norris, I think qualifying was pretty decent, third, and then finished the race obviously second, and the sprint was it 8th, I think?
Yeah, 1 point in the sprint.
Yeah, so wasn't absolutely terrible. Obviously, he was having the brake issues, but despite the brake issues, I think skill-wise, you could sort of see that Lando is still pretty good. To say that he was struggling with his brakes a lot, managed to finish in second.
Yeah.
So I've given him 3.5 stars, which also sounds a little bit harsh. But I think he had a pretty decent weekend, so I'll give him sort of in the mid-range, 3.5.
I've matched that with a 3.5. He was never going to win that race, I don't think. I think Piastri had his number, so to speak. He weren't going to... It looked like he could have caught him, but then I think Piastri would have just put his foot down a bit more. Yeah. Obviously, it had the brake issue, extremely unfortunate, but it didn't really affect the inevitable, him second.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Russell just nip into second, one more lap.
I'd have reckoned like 1 or 2 more laps into it.
It would have got him in the first couple of corners of the next lap. So yeah, 3.5 star from Norris. Obviously, he's finished really where he needs to. To win championships, you don't win every race. You just have to be up there every single. It's consistency. And,
you need to get those points added up.
He's had a good start to the season. Now, speaking about the consistency, the reason I've not given him any higher because I know he finished second. We have to talk about the sprint. That was
I don't know
awful.
What's going on.
Bad qualifying. Was it 6th he qualified? Which was bad.
I think so.
How you call it? You can't be qualifying that low down.
Even in the sprint races, you'd sort of expect the McLarens to do extremely well because they are so quick.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Norris really had it in this weekend. Yeah. But he didn't necessarily do terrible. It just wasn't the Norris that we know.
He had a good race, just not a good sprint.
And
we're counting both when this sprint race is on. So, yeah, 3.5 for Norris, purely on the fact of poor sprint, but an extremely poor sprint.
Yeah.
Okay. Ferrari.
The team has been disqualified.
What's happening? What's happening to them? This is the worst start they've ever had.
Yeah, I was expecting big things from them. Obviously, all the excitement from Hamilton moving in. Ferrari always sort of doing well at the start of the season, but I just don't think it's the year.
Not at all.
So to speak.
With 2 races in, and they've got, I think they've got 17 points collectively, which is they should be getting that, easily.
Even expecting more from Leclerc this season, I thought he was going to bite back and be like, "It's my year," which they say every year.
He still probably will, but it's
just time thing, isn't it? We'll see it progress.
Eventually. It's just not right now. The car doesn't seem to be great, but then again, Hamilton did win the sprint. But yeah, race pace is off. Qualifying isn't great. It's just average. And yeah, disqualifications. I'm not really going to take that in for my race rankings.
Yeah, it's not really the. They finished. Leclerc literally had a broken ring.
And I low-key think made it faster.
He didn't phase him. He was faster than Hamilton.
Exactly.
With a broken wing. So I really don't think it hindered his race at all.
No. But obviously, Ferrari probably has to just pay a little bill to fix that. But.
And to say though that Ferrari have the reputation to always make bad decisions and bad calls, for them to not replace the wing, I think worked out in the favour.
They did, because they'd have lost a good 5 or 6 seconds. 3.5 star for Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, I agree with that. I think his sprint, obviously winning the sprint.
Sensational.
Yeah, and
that's
being on pole for the sprint.
From me.
No, in fact, I'm going to change it to 4 because he was on pole for the sprint and then won the sprint, which I think is really good.
Okay.
Obviously, it just didn't do as well in the race, but I think he had a pretty decent weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it was great to see him get on pole for the sprint and then convert the sprint to a win. Obviously, that's where his points have come from this season so far.
Yeah.
The sprint.
First win in the Ferrari as well, which is one for the history books.
Definitely, yeah. He's obviously beat Leclerc to the win. It's not a real win, I suppose, but...
It's his first time winning a sprint as well, isn't it?
I think he won the first ever one, and then he's won this one. So, yeah, he hasn't won one for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like a race win, but it's
still pretty decent.
Yeah, next best thing, I suppose. So, yeah, a really bad race, which does lower his ranking, but a 3.5, solid weekend, really, from him.
I agree.
So you give him a 4?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to go to Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc. What's happening?
I don't understand it. I really thought he was going to do a lot better. He has a history of being so good at qualifying. Where's he gone?
I know, it's like it's just... I think he was out-qualified by Hamilton, obviously in the sprint and in the race. I'm sorry. Hamilton has been
I didn't expect that.
the worst qualifier of all time the last season.
Yeah.
Or two. And Leclerc's been like the best qualifier, so it just seems to... Hamilton's found his qualifying form, so good for him, and Leclerc seems to have lost his... It's weird. It's a weird season for Ferrari right now.
Yeah, obviously they both got disqualified. Lewis Hamilton I can't remember, I think it was underneath the car.
Skid block.
It was literally by like a third of something. I think it was pretty small anyway.
It was nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, it was nothing. And then Leclerc just being underweight, which is
Yeah.
very unfortunate. You know, sometimes things don't necessarily work out. So I've ranked Leclerc with 3 stars.
I'll give him a 3 as well, because
I expect
pretty
more.
average sprint and then a very average race. Did beat Hamilton in the race. They obviously finished 5th and 6th before disqualified, but you know, for 5th and 6th, like, they've got to be doing better than that.
Yeah.
They should be. They should be. It should be really. With the way the McLarens are, you want a minimum be finishing 3rd and 4th. You know what I mean? And that's a bad weekend. Never mind what they've done this weekend. So, yeah, Ferrari, nothing's clicking right now. It seems to be that McLaren, Russell and Verstappen are the ones to watch this season.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
how I feel, and I mean...
And now all eyes on Tsunoda, I suppose.
Yeah, and his home race next as well, so, yeah.
It's a really nice race to come back to, though, being his home race in the Red Bull, which he's been chasing for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, some big things, exciting things coming.
And now, also, for the next race, we should literally be able to get the episode up. So, on the Tuesday, so like 2 days after the race, the episode should be up. If it's not, then you'll have to come for us and call us lazy because we have no excuse now. So, yeah, that's something to watch out for. So, obviously, no race this weekend, but we are back in Japan next weekend. And like you say, see how Tsunoda does. Hopefully, we can give him a 5-star and he gets his first race win.
So.
That'd be lovely.
Imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, this is our China rankings. This is now obviously we're getting into the season now. Race 3 coming up next, and it's looking spicy.
It is. It's all over the place. You literally can't predict a thing. So I think that is what's good about it, is you just don't know what direction it's going to go in.
Alex Albon on the podium next race, calling it here. Alright, thank you for listening. If you are listening on Spotify, please drop a 5-star. If you are listening on YouTube, like and subscribe. And yeah, let's just all have a big community and I'll be happy. Alright, thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.